Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today, I'm super excited, not only because I was able to witness this man's first live on social media, but because now Don Spafford gets to be on our podcast. So thank you so much for joining us, Don.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great honor to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that. I mean, I'm pretty sure I met you at Brian's, but like watching your progression, and what I mean by Brian's is Brian's meetup, but just like watching your progression of you grow, like as a person has been just wonderful. Like I'm for here 10 for 10. And so I'm just, like I said, I'm really excited to be able to like have this time with you because I think it's super cool.
Yeah, me too. And I give a lot of that credit to you guys, because you guys were a part of my inspiration first off as well. Because you guys, when you did your first video post, that's kind of what helped. Okay, they're doing it, I got to do it too, and not to the level you guys did it, but at least I wanted to get out there and at least try it and go big. Because I've seen you guys, I've seen you're from the very starting, well, not from the very starting point, but when you got your first deal, I was there when that happened. Kind of heard your story, and you guys were some of my first early supporters to get on a phone call with me, over a year ago and just talk about the things you did and the things you suggest and whatnot. And so, yeah, you guys have been a huge help and inspiration for me.
Awesome, Don. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that.
Makes my heart feel like full, all this.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, we know a lot about you. Would you mind sharing with our Adventurous family a little bit more about your background and like why you started investing in real estate?
Yeah. So I've grown up as a young kid, even I had an interest in investing and then, learning how money works. I was always the type that likes to tinker, I guess, take things apart and put them back together and figure it out and whatnot. And so I guess that went in naturally with money and finance as well, because I didn't grow up in a wealthy family or anything like that, by any means. So that's kind of myself wanting me to do better than my parents and get out ahead and get see like the big name people at that time, like early 80s, back when Donald Trump was like the big name, was the rich guy in the world. So I was like, yeah, I want to be like him. I was like, how can I do that? How can I figure out money? And so I learned, or I say I tried to learn and understand about money and financing and saving and investing and part of that, I think, was even early on just playing Monopoly with my family on buying the hotels and taking everybody's money.
Yeah,
it was fun. And then later, when I got a little bit older, my early teens, and I got into like stock investing. Not that I invested myself, but I'd follow it, through newspapers. Again, this was pre-internet days, so I'd see like the stock exchanges and the newspaper prints that come out, and tried to follow some of that. And I got in, I guess it must have been an economics class in high school that it's like a stock investing challenge kind of thing, with not real money or anything, but just to track what you would do if you invested. And so
yeah.
So that got me kind of excited, and I had fun with that. And so, that just gets progressed. And later on, as I became in my adulthood, I guess, got into the realm of finance and studied that in college, took a finance and investment science, portfolio management, and then later accounting. So I have all these, essentially 4 different degrees, we'll say 4 majors in all around finance investing. And I wanted really that to be my career path. I wanted to become a financial advisor. And I studied for the CFA exams. I was reading the books and even got some of these securities licenses. But it was, I guess, so by the time I finished school though, so again, I started college, we'll say, in 1995. I didn't finish till 2008. I took some time off, a couple of years. Of course, I went out of the country and then coming back, I went to school. Well, I went to school full time for like a semester. Then I got married, so I took time off, and then went back and started going to school part-time. So there's a lot of in and outs there and career path changes and stuff. But so by the time I finished, going part-time was 2008. So like the worst time to graduate with a degree in finance.
Totally. That's what my initial thought was.
So I came out there hoping to land a job. In fact, my employer at the time, which was finance related, they were going to create a position for me, almost like a hybrid position that's part portfolio manager and something else. But about the time this was coming about, they, just like any other investment finance company, was concerned about what's going on. And, they saw their companies laying people off. The clients of this company are investment advisors, so if they lose their business, it means the company loses business. So they were concerned and to be proactive, started laying some people off. And so they were like, well, we don't see it didn't make sense to create a position they don't need when they're laying people off, so. Yeah. So that got put on hold, and I was like, okay, at least I've got a job, I guess. But that's kind of really what I guess opened my eyes that career path I was hoping to go for maybe was not super secure. There wasn't. I thought it was going to be a job where I could do and enjoy and be good going forward. But now I saw that, okay, this is also things outside of my control could make this job or in fact the company go away. So around this time, of course, with the housing crash coming down, all the house prices coming down, I started going, wow, I wish I could buy a house right now. This would be a great time to buy some of these and hold them. I did not yet understand, I guess, the rental side of it. I just thought, I was like, you buy the house, just sit on it and hold it for a few years, then sell for more. But it didn't even ever occur to me that you could actually rent it. So I was like, how can I afford to buy these houses, hold them for that long? So, went out the window. I was still of the mindset around then that, real estate investing was for the rich and wealthy. Yeah. It's a thing that a normal person can't do. Yeah. So I didn't know any better. And then my wife became a realtor herself in about 2010-ish. And so some of her first clients were investors. And that kind of really what made me start thinking more about it. I'd see what they were doing. And they were, at that point, they were doing the BRRRR process, which I didn't even know was a thing you could do. I thought this is some kind of cool trick that, these, the rich, wealthy investor guys can do. And I didn't know what it was called. They just tell me what they're doing. Wow, that's awesome. So I was kind of like trying to follow them a bit and see what they're doing and learning from them what I could. But still not knowing how I could do it because I still didn't have the resources for it. I didn't have $100,000 or more to invest in something like that. So I started reading some books and learning more, but it wasn't until we moved later to Idaho, where we're at now, in 2015. And about a year after we moved here, I got back into it and trying to figure it out. And I went to a real estate seminar coming through town, one of these guru type things, their house flipping course and stuff. And I met a guy there who introduced me to Bigger Pockets, which I'd never even heard that before. And so I thought it was just like a resource for essentially like private lenders kind of thing. So I went there and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I fell in love with the site, started using the calculators, and really started at that point ramping up my education, understanding, listening to the podcasts and playing with the calculators and talking to people in the forums there. And that's kind of really where I learned that, okay, there are, we'll say, some creative financing methods you can use to get properties without a huge bunch of money up front for the down payment and all that. So that's kind of really what got me motivated to take that leap and buy our first property.
Cool. I love it. Yeah. Right. Because I like, though, that like this whole entire time you were interested in finance. So like something in you, like you had more motivation, I guess, the whole time, right? To figure it out, especially with the tinkering at the very beginning, to be like, okay, like I will figure this out. This is something I'm going to end up doing. It does not matter. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I wish I would have known early on at those 3-4-year-old age that I wanted to invest in real estate. Right. That would have helped me get there a lot faster for sure. But that's just that my natural instinct is I want to learn things. I want to understand it. And part of why aside from real estate, I actually love science and physics because it's more about the way things work. So it's just kind of a natural thing that I want to understand something, not just know about it. So as an investor, of course, that helps you to do better with that. Kind of like what Warren Buffett always tells people is invest in what you know. It's not some strange thing that you have no idea because people talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Don, so you buy your first place, your first property. Now you've started Happy Camper Capital as well. So like, what's the goal with that Happy Camper HCC? Just shorten it up. What's the goal with HCC and what's your future look like? Like where do you want to go from here?
Yeah. So with Happy Camper Capital, it's kind of something that's a bit unique. It stands out, and that's also something for me that going back like we talked about a year ago or so when I first became active on social media and following you guys. I was very much an introvert. Complete introvert. I didn't like talking to people. I hate to go to group meetings and be in crowds. I could do it. I could force myself to do certain things. I was not able to like carry a conversation or something with people I have nothing in common with. And but at the same point, even with that, I was pretty much like that my whole life. But at the same point, not wanting to interact with people, I still liked standing out and being different than everybody else. I was never like a follower. I didn't like following crowds, and I like to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing, just to not, what's the word? I don't know, just not follow the crowds, and do my own thing. And so with Happy Camper Capital, I like in that aspect that we're still investing in commercial real estate and we're still providing great returns to our investors. But it's, if I go to a meetup with most likely everybody else in there is going to be multifamily or some type of normal residential real estate. Yeah. I'm here with something different. So it gets me to stand out in those crowds. And if 10 people have a deal they're talking about and everybody's listening, it's like, okay, all right, that one and B and C and D, they're all pretty much the same. It's like, oh, I've got campgrounds. Like, oh, what's that? So it gets people's attention that there's like something different, and so that's really what me attracted me to it initially. I think is that it's different and gives us a more specific niche to carve out and, bring on people looking for something different and maybe something better. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. I want to dial back just a little bit. You mentioned there, the whole introverted piece. Would you mind sharing, with our listeners, like the listeners out there who are introverted themselves, like who don't want to post on social media, who are afraid to go live on social media or do anything like interact, go to conferences, things like that, like,
or even just ask questions
or
to
even
get
just
started.
ask questions. Yeah, like what advice do you have for them, Don? What made you overcome, your first fear, or maybe it was, I don't know if I'm going to call it a fear, but like, hesitation to go live on social media. Like, if you have any tips for the listeners out there who are like that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can try. And honestly, I'd say I have not actually overcome that fear. I still, get nervous and take deep breaths. But for me, it was one of those things that I understood that I had to do it. There's no way around it. If I wanted to grow and do what I wanted to do, especially in the commercial real estate, there's no way you can do it alone, unless you're just, ultra mega wealthy. But it takes partners and it takes connections, and there's, so if I wanted to get to that point, I needed to scale. I knew I had to push past all that, no matter what do you call it? Swallow your pride or whatever it may be. Yeah. Just to get out there and do it. And I knew that over time it would probably get easier. At least I was hoping it would. And I think it has, but again, there's still, it's not like you're over it. It's almost like, you say somebody that's like, I'm not been in this case myself, but you hear about people that are like addicts, right? And they get over their drinking, whatever, they always still say they're, no matter what point they're at, if it's been 50 years, they've touched a drop of alcohol, they still say they're a recovering alcoholic, because they know that deep in the desire, need of your body is still there, but you're just constantly fighting to get over it. So that's kind of how I feel, I guess, with this is it's gotten easier over time, but it still is challenging, I'd say.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more just that controlling that mindset, and just doing it more. The more repetitive I did it, and the more meetups I'd go to, the more people I'd talk to, it got a bit easier. And like that first post I did on LinkedIn was the reason I decided to just not do some random words. I wanted to, kind of go with that whole standing out thing. I wanted to go big. I want to do something that just really pushes past I don't want to just barely do it and get past the line. So, okay, I did it. I want to surpass it, tremendously. So I made that challenge myself. I'm going to do these 5 videos in 5 days and get out there and help to build my name and show people I'm here, because knowing that if I want to scale, there's no way that people are going to want to invest with me if they don't know who I am. Yeah. The only way they can know who I am is if I'm out there, making myself known.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing, Don. I appreciate that. And it's so true. It's like, I think Tony Robbins says, like, right, or maybe some other personal development person, but they said, your wildest dreams lie on the other side of your biggest fears, right? And just overcoming those fears. And like, I think what you're saying is like, your desire to achieve the goal you want to achieve outweighed the fear that you had, right? And so, it's really cool. I mean, like once you realize that, then it becomes very easy. You have to work through that fear in order to progress towards the goals you have.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard the saying as well that that the biggest distance to get past your fear is like the 4 or 5 inches between your ears. You go overcome that and you're good. And honestly, that was even with buying that first property when we did. That was a fearful moment too. I literally wanted to back out the day before closing because I was scared. If something goes wrong, we're totally screwed. So, but I again had to push past that fear. Knew that we had to start somewhere, and the numbers look good on my calculation. So I'm like, we've got to go for it. Just make it happen. So getting past that fear, even that very first property is what for me opened the floodgates to even start buying more properties and looking out of state and having no fear to start buying real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking back on like when we first started, like just getting on calls with people, even Zoom calls, like for me, Susan and I we would get sweaty, get out, or like try to cancel the meeting right before it happened or something like that. Like literally the first person I talked to about real estate, I wanted to cancel the meeting because I did not want to talk to them. I ended up changing our lives, right? And now he's a really good friend, right? And so like it's just so weird. And then the first LOI that I submitted was like for over $7 million, and I was like, $7 million. I was like, what am I doing? I've never even seen $7 million, let alone try to purchase something with $7 million. Right. So right. It's just, and then after that, it becomes a little bit easier. But like you said, that fear, that basal level of fear still exists. somewhere, except it just becomes, for me at least, it becomes a little bit easier every time you do it, right?
Yeah. And that's, I shared this before, but for me, the very first, we'll say, social networking meetup that I went to online, I came on late. So it was like from 3 to 5 my time. And so like the first hour I was still working. So like, I'll come in on the second hour after my done working, and then I'll see what they're talking about. No idea there's gonna be a social networking part. I thought it was just a whole presentation or something. So right when I log in is right when they're going to the breakout rooms. And I was like, what's this? I don't know. So I just hit exit. I got out, like I was in there for like 2 seconds and left. I was like, not ready to handle that. I didn't know what a breakout room was. And so I was like, no, this is too scary. So
Right.
I backed out. I got out of, and luckily, I came back and started doing them. And that's of course where I met you guys, and things have grown from there. And luckily, I've met enough people early on, like such as you two, that were there to support and help and not make me feel, out of place or, to give up, I guess, so it was great having those connections early on with great people that could help motivate me.
I like it. Absolutely. What do you love about campgrounds? I'm serious. I mean, I love camping, so I get it, but I want to know why you do.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it was, and kind of funny thing is that, I listened to your interview recently with, Alexander Felice also, and he's doing campground now too. So it was kind of interesting, but so, yeah, it's kind of unique for sure. I mean, growing up, again, I was, my family, we camped, I guess, often when I was young, more like tent camping stuff. And, and growing up, I was a Boy Scout, was an Eagle Scout. So we did a lot of camping with scouts. And for me, honestly, that was the part I disliked the most, because I didn't really necessarily enjoy camping. Again, more in that aspect of it, sleeping on the ground on a tent or whatever. Or usually at the scout camps, it's like a canvas tent that's there. You just have a cot inside. And so at night you're looking up and there's spiders crawling all along the top of it. And it's like not a very fun experience, and as we our family grew, and my wife wanted to do more. Well, she wanted to go camping, but at the same point also does not like the tent camping. She doesn't want to sleep on the ground. She's like, if we go camping, we're gonna go like in a camper or something. And I was like, well, that's glamping. That's technically not camping. So you're living it. That's hardly what's the word? Roughing it. Yeah, there you go. And so anyway, but where I'm at here, I live in Idaho now, and we're like an hour and a half away from Yellowstone Park. So it's
cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people here, of course, go camping and have campers, RVs. And so it's a whole different lifestyle here for sure than what I grew up with here on Omaha. And so when I first learned about campground investing, it was about, maybe a year ago or something. I heard on the podcast, somebody talked about it. It was something I had never considered before. I didn't know it's something you could even invest in. And I started, I'm kind of, I guess it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, there could be something there. So I started going to these meetups still, and I'd ask people. I was kind of doing some due diligence first ahead of time just to see what people thought. It's like, this is something that could actually work. So I go to meetups with people, again, doing mostly multifamily, and I just say, hey, I heard about these campgrounds. What do you think about that? Kind of tell them what I'd heard, and for the people I spoke with, I got positive feedback. Especially one in particular had just recently the last summer had rented an RV and went to a campground, and they had a lot of fun, enjoyed it. They saw that there was definitely a lot of income potential on these properties for what they're doing. I was like, good to know. Okay. And he said he would even be willing to invest like 100,000, something like that. I'm like, oh, cool. Good to know. And then, I went back to my neighbors who had, honestly, I had previously discussed with my neighbors, years before this, as I was getting more into real estate, I mentioned to my neighbors, I am investing in real estate, there may be opportunities where you could invest and get a return and stuff like that. And it was never anything that interested them. They're a lot of them are generally high income earners. We've got like 5 lawyers in my neighborhood, a couple, physical therapists and things. So they make good money on their own, and real estate was never anything that interested them. They again, going back to something they didn't understand. It was confusing, scary, too risky. And so when I was looking into the campgrounds, I went back to these basically the same neighbors and said, hey, what do you think about investing in the campground? Is that something that would be interesting to you? And they're like, that sounds interesting. I would actually like that, because now we're looking at something that they use. They're already using it. They understand it. Something they have a personal, like a emotional connection to from the memories they've had. So It's like, okay, there could be something here for sure. And so as I met a couple of guys that were doing this, and we joined up together. I officially came in with Happy Camp Capital last November. It just kind of naturally progressed from there. I started learning more about it myself first of all, so I still didn't know a lot about how they work and how they operate, all the technicalities of it. But but I learned more about it and got more into it, and the more I talked about it, the more I enjoyed talking about it. And again, going back to standing out and being different. I would go to meetups or just even one-on-one calls with investors and talk about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I would just get emotionally excited talking to them about it.
Yeah.
Because for me it's very unique. The opportunities are I think much greater than they are in multifamily and other things right now. As far as the returns. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I what I liked most about it, honestly, and it's not even just the return, but or of course the returns were initially what got me interested in it, considering that there's huge opportunity there.
Yeah.
Especially right now, there's not having a bunch of competition. We're not competing against 20 other offers. But the more I learned about it, and the more I talk to people about it, and these new ideas come to my mind about what's great about it is and going back to for something that you guys talk about is the return on impact. So what makes it better? How you can better the community. So in a lot of things, especially the last year or two, seeing things in the news of talking about stuff with evictions and the rising rents everywhere, which is great for the investor when you can increase the rents by 50%, 100%, whatever. But bad for the tenants. The ones that are living there, they're like, man, now I got to come with extra couple $100 a month and pay this while they're dealing with inflation themselves and probably not getting a raise and stuff. So it's like kind of hard on them when you look at that aspect. That point of view of the tenant. It's like, now I'm getting screwed. I go find a place to live that's cheap again. So with the campgrounds, we don't have to deal with that. We're not pushing tenants out. We're not taking away their home or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
These are people come here to have fun anyway, right? So they're just it's a resort, it's a vacation spot. They're going there to spend time and hang out with their family and friends and have fun. And so for me, that the aspect of it is that we can create memories. That you're going there to have fun and enjoy it and come out of there having a good time and wanting to come back. So and also from the personal aspect of it as an investor, I look at it as that it's like that first property we bought it's a fourplex, and especially during the first probably 2 or 3 years, I don't know. I did a lot of the cleaning and the prepping of anytime there's a vacancy, just to save on the costs and didn't have the connections for people to do that just yet anyway. So I would, of course, take my kids with me. So I wanted them to learn. I was like, hey, come see. This is, an apartment building. You guys will one day hopefully do this, So I and now thinking about it, from that perspective, I'm like, looking back, and if they get older and the point where they can invest in an apartment, they might have those memories of like, I remember cleaning an apartment and it sucked. Why would I want to own one? So they probably have a more of like a bad type of connection, emotional memory for apartment investing. Whereas if we go to a campground and we're just there having fun, right, cooking s'mores and running around and going on the lake, whatever, and at the same time tell them, yeah, we're invested in this. This is something that's making money for us. We're having fun. So they're now going to have a positive emotional tie to investing, and knowing that, okay, I can invest in something and still have fun with it, and not hate having to clean stuff about it or feel bad about kicking tenants out and whatnot. So I like that emotional aspect of it probably much better. Much better than the financial part. I'm sorry, I get emotional.
No, I love it. Yeah, no, because it makes so much sense. Like, even when you were saying it, I was like, that makes all of it makes sense to me. And when you do that, you change lives differently. Like, it's in a different way where, like, when Michael and I even talked about, like, it's about people over profits, like, this is a great example. Like, even within your family, right? Like, look at how this makes you feel and the good that you can do, like, with yourself, with the people you're here with all the other people here, like, and then see what happens. Like, it's phenomenal. No, it's like, no. So I love it. I do.
Yeah. That part, I get emotional pretty easily. So, especially with something that I care deeply about and, I feel about, and honestly, I think that's what people like about me, and it attracts people to want to work with me, is that, they know I'm honest and good person deep down, that I'm not trying to, take advantage of anybody.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Cause when you do something from your heart instead of from your pocket, it makes it completely, the difference is complete. Like, even the energy that you put into it. So
yeah. Because, honestly, I still say that even for me personally, I've never liked, raising rents on my tenants, even the ones I have, the ones I manage. I understand that, yeah, you can. The market allows it, says, yeah, sure, it's worth this. You should rent for this. But at the same time, people need a place to live. People are still on a budget. I've been there myself. I know what it's like to, be on a budget, and when costs go up, it's like, what do? You got to figure out what else you can cut out of your life and make changes to make it work, or just go into debt trying to keep up with that. So, I've even for my own tenants, I've never, have raised them a tremendous amount, at a time. It's been minimal amounts. I'll do the big raises when they move out and it's a vacancy. Sure. Then yeah, I'll bump it up to market rents, but somebody's already there, and me knowing them on a personal level, knowing their, their budgets and their needs, I'm like, I feel bad to raise them, a crazy amount that would be a strain on them. So I've never enjoyed that part of it. I hate hurting people.
Yeah. No, which is wonderful. I remember very first time, like my apartment building raised rents. I know it was for everyone, but I literally walked into the office and I was like, no, because I didn't know, I didn't know anything about investing, right? Had no idea. And I literally was like, I am not paying the rental increase. The lady's like, no, you have to. I'm like, no, I don't. It went back and forth. And then finally they come back to me and they're like, $10. I was like, I can do $10, which is kind of cool. But a lot of people don't know they can negotiate. But even just bringing it all together, raising rents.
Yeah,
it is a love-hate. So I do understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Don, it's been a pleasure so far. It's been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. Fortunately, we're coming to the end of the show, which takes us to the Adventurous 4. These are 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests. So, Don, are you ready to answer the question?
Yep, I'm ready.
Awesome.
Woo!
All right, let's do it. So the first question we have for you, Don, is where's one place you wish to travel to and why?
Yep, my number one spot has been for a long time is Egypt. I've been there. I totally love ancient Egyptian culture. In our old house, our first house we had in Omaha. Yeah. I painted a life-size mural on one of the walls in the basement. That was a whole Egyptian
oh, cool
thing. And so my I call it my theater room. It was just basically a area we have a home theater, but it's not like a theater room. But it has all the decorations there of Egyptian stuff, and so that's my number one place to go is Egypt.
Cool. I like it. If you come, you let us know. What?
Question 1B. So the second part of the
1B
is what is stopping you from going?
Well, for forever, the main thing was the cost to get there. So my wife is from South America. So if we ever take an expensive trip to go somewhere, it's it makes more sense. We got to go see family more than, just fun thing, So, we're getting to the point soon, I think, where I can budget that out and say, you know what, we can do this now. We can make the budget, but on top of that, of course, with our younger kids, in the last, decade or so, it's gotten more dangerous to travel to certain areas. There's, rising, what do we call them, chaos, things that happen. So it's we don't want to at the same time put ourselves in danger or especially our kids if they come with us. So it's been mainly the finances and just the risk with it. Yeah. Our kids are getting older now, and so we could probably still get out and make it happen. But definitely that's a place that above anywhere else, I want to go to Egypt.
Cool. Love it.
I do too. So what is something on your bucket list and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it? Well,
I guess you could say going to Egypt, but aside from that, boy, it's hard to say, honestly. There's things in the past that I thought I'd want, but as I've progressed and gotten more to personal finance things and it's those things really don't matter. When I was younger, I would say, I want to own a Mercedes or something. That was, my dream car was just a Mercedes. Now I'm like, it's just a car.
Right. I get it.
I drive old cars now. They're, high mileage and paid off, but I don't care anymore. I don't care about having nice cars and things, but there's still probably a few that I would just like to have, just, because I wouldn't call it a bucket list thing though. And one day maybe when it makes sense, because I prefer just to reinvest in stuff than just buy things to have cool things, So really a bucket list, I don't have much of anything other than going to Egypt. Really.
Yeah,
love it.
It works. It can be the answer for both. That's fine.
So third question, Don, is what is one piece of advice you have for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate?
Make connections, network, get to know people. That's the number one thing. Even for me, when I first learned about syndications a few years ago, wanted to get into it. I didn't know anybody was doing it. So I was like, how do you even get in those deals? I even went to one of my local meetup, a local meetup that used to go on anyway. I went to one of the last ones I went to, somebody was asking, we want to get into the apartment investing. How do we do that? We don't know anybody that does it. How do you get into that? And even I was like, I don't know either. So and I found out later how you get into those deals is by knowing people that do it. So you got to make those connections, get out their network, and associate with people that are doing it, so you can have those opportunities to passively invest.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's great advice. Thank you. So then the fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
Boy, I don't know how to answer this, honestly. So there's lots of things I would love to do. My wife and I have had for many years, our goal is to give back to charities and do things, so I think probably the number one thing is that the goal I set myself, I think 25 years ago or something, when I lived in Argentina. I was in, northeastern Argentina, not necessarily a place you'd consider like a third world country, but definitely there are areas in there that are more like a third world country. I people that lived on dirt floors and basically shacks, running water, and things like that. So seeing that firsthand and people that I knew.
No, it's okay. You are okay. No need to apologize.
People that I knew and cared for that were, they would work long days, hard hours, and only make enough money to buy a loaf of bread to feed their family.
Yeah, no, that's hard. So
it was, yeah. I was like, if I'm ever in the position where I can do something to change that, I'm not sure how that would be, but the only thing that for me that came to mind was like, if I had the ability to put in some kind of, a factory or something to create jobs and, have employees there, pay them a real wage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I love it.
Yeah, I do
Awesome.
too. Thank you. Thank you for being so kind and right. I mean, and you are just so genuine. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you shared. I do. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, before we end the show, Don, would you mind sharing with our Adventurous family where they can learn more about you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm obviously most active on LinkedIn, so find me on LinkedIn for sure. I'd happy to connect with you there. Obviously come to happycampercapital.com. You can find the About Us tab there, and you'll find my name, and you can connect with me there directly. There's a link to set up a Calendly call or whatever. So those are probably the best two places to get a hold of me.
No, awesome. Thank you. And those will definitely be in the show notes. So please reach out to Don. I promise you will not regret it. Great human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Reach out, get on his list and see these deals that he has, because I'm about to ask him after we're done with this call to get on his list. So Susie and I can see what he has.
Love her. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us, Don. It's always a pleasure, and we just really appreciate everything that you said and talked about with our Adventurous family today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm honored that you guys finally asked me to come on. Ever since you first launched the first episode, I can't wait to be on their show one day. So
I felt the same way.
I just realized that we're almost a year into recording, which is wild. I didn't realize that. June 1st.
Fun fact. Oh, and fun fact, Michael used to be in Boy Scouts too. I really wanted to have that.
Yeah, Eagle Scout as well. And I do remember, and this is a sidebar, but I do remember those tents, canvas tents, and there'd be like snakes and everything you had to chase out of there when you came for scout camp. Yeah, it's not fun. So
yeah.
Fun.
Well, on that note, until next time,
explore more adventure ways. Woo!